Maybe I'm making this video strictly because of the benefit of hindsight. How, to open up the 2024-2025 Vancouver Canucks season, the defense has been somewhat of a problem. Sure, there are a bunch of new guys. Sure, there are new systems to be put in place. And sure, it's probably not going to be this bad for the majority of the season. Once the Vancouver Canucks find their groove, once they start stringing together wins, once all the new acquisitions get familiar with Rick Tocchet's system, and once all the new D-men start working with Gonchar and Foote a little bit more, there's probably reason to believe that the Vancouver Canucks in 2024-2025, defensively and overall, will get better. But again, we're making this video because of hindsight. Because the Vancouver Canucks and their current stretch of play has seen some defending that's been pretty bad, and I think you could definitely say that the team's lack of a bona fide top four defenseman in the top four is somewhat of a problem. How Tyler Myers has to be given all these minutes, how you've got guys like Erik Brannstrom and Desharnais and others rotating around the bottom pairing, and it begs the question as to what other options the Vancouver Canucks could have had. And in particular, because you saw the thumbnail and you read the title of this video, you know who it is that we are talking about from the Boston Bruins. We're going over Nikita Zadorov, and whether or not Patrik Allvin made a mistake by letting him go and not signing him to the dollars and the years that he was asking for. Now, this is all coming to us because Nikita Zadorov's actual contract offer from Vancouver was revealed earlier this week. I'll leave a link in the description to this article by Rob Williams on dailyhive.com. Canucks' contract offer to Nikita Zadorov was revealed. The 6'6" defenseman left Vancouver for Boston on the first day of free agency last summer, inking a 6-year deal worth $5 million a year. But it sounds like the Canucks could have kept him on a 5-year deal. Zadorov said earlier this month that he felt he was a little bit disrespected in negotiations, and on Friday, Czech's Rick Dhaliwal explained why. Zadorov and agent Dan Milstein 100% wanted to re-sign in Vancouver, so contract talks started before the playoffs, Dhaliwal told Mike Halford and Jason Brough on Sportsnet 650. The Canucks offered Zadorov a 4-year contract worth $4.6 million prior to the start of the playoffs, according to Dhaliwal. But Zadorov, who turns 30 next April, wanted a 5th year. The term was the big issue, not the money. The Canucks would not budge on 4 years. And to hear that be, let's just say, the tipping point, the breaking point as to why this signing didn't get done in the ways that it could have, it does get a little bit interesting. I mean, we've heard from various sources that Patrik Allvin is a really tough negotiator, at least when you're referring to a trade capacity. If you're another GM in the NHL trying to negotiate something with Allvin, he's going to wring you dry of every single asset that you have that's valuable. He's really good at making these trades work. And I would assume that translates into the contract negotiation side of it as well. If he's talking to agents, he's talking to player representatives, trying to get the contract sorted out. If he says 5 years, then it's 5 years. If he says 4 years, it's 4 years. He's really not going to budge on dollar amounts nor contract lengths. So to see Nikita Zadorov get a $5 million by 6-year deal in Boston, obviously it's good for him. He's getting a much bigger contract than he would have gotten in Vancouver. But to hear that his offer from Vancouver was $4.6 million in the 4-year range, obviously it's like, okay, that would have been reasonable for Vancouver to sign him to, but if the holdup and the reason it didn't get signed is because Vancouver didn't want to go to a 5th year, then firstly, I gotta say, wow, props to Patrik Allvin for really standing his ground and not even be willing in the slightest to budge on a contract year in 2030, 2031, $4.6 million by the time the cap is going to be maybe $100+ million bucks. I mean, good on Allvin for standing his ground, but at the same time, if you had just considered it, if you had just taken that deal, could you imagine where the Vancouver Canucks would be right now? The article goes out there and talks about how Zadorov was a good fit. On Vancouver's blue line, he became a cult hero during the playoffs, and time will tell if the Canucks will regret letting Zadorov go in free agency as they did with Tanev 4 years ago. What is clear, though, through 4 games is that the Canucks are thin on the back end. The top pairing of Hughes and Hronek are playing a ton, while Tyler Myers and Soucy have had their struggles on the second pair. The third pair has been a rotating cast of characters already. Free agent signing Vinny Desharnais has been healthy scratched twice, while Erik Brannstrom played in Thursday's game in Florida. Forbort and Juleson have also seen time on the third pair, too. Zadorov, meanwhile, has had a strong start with the Bees, 4th in average ice time with 18.25 among Boston Blue Liners, and has 3 points in 5 games. Now, the 3 points in 5 games and the minutes, those are all extra. Really, Nikita Zadorov is a better player than Derek Forbort. He is a better player than Juleson, better player than Brannstrom. He would have slotted in nicely alongside of a Tyler Myers or alongside of a Desharnais to add some stability on whatever pairing that he is on. It would make the Canucks decor better. And now, when you consider the holdup being a total of 1 year, $4.6 million between what the Canucks were willing to give Zadorov and what he would have been willing to sign for, if you had assumed the Canucks did not sign Desharnais, for example, let's just say they don't sign Desharnais, they don't sign an extra depth forward, I guess, and they roll with some sort of a decor that's got those 6 guys, Hughes, Hronek, Soucy, Myers, and then you have Forbort and Zadorov. That decor is so much better than what they have right now, and I get it, you could say it's because Forbort left the team for personal reasons, that's why they're also looking a little bit banged up. And you could also say that Tyler Myers ended up leaving the game a few days ago, which made things even worse. But at the same time, even when you have a fully healthy lineup, Tyler Myers playing top 4 minutes is not ideal. Having Noah Juleson chasing hits and Derek Forbort not playing with somebody who's mobile, who could allow Forbort to exhibit his own strengths on the ice. When he's got Juleson or anybody else in his pairing, he kind of has to be a little bit more aggressive in terms of the way he moves and how he continues to headman the puck. It's not really like that for him. That's not the best of his ability. He's a lot better and he's more effective when you just allow him to stay put somewhere. You need a mobile guy to play with him. Now, if we go over to the Canucks sub, we read some of the comments here. It's a bit of a bummer if it's true. If Zadorov's camp just wanted the 5th year at 4.6, I would have much rather brought him back and left Desharnais and Heinen off the books. Add in Tyler Myers. They gave him 3x3 before free agency started. I get not wanting to break the bank for Zadorov, but that's a pretty reasonable contract for that guy. And I was the one that made a bunch of YouTube videos saying that Nikita Zadorov is not worth it, now the contract that he wanted was a little bit too beefy, and how would it really be all too beneficial for the Canucks to shell out, let's say, I don't know, 16, 20, $24 million for what would essentially be a third pairing D-man. But on the contrary to that perspective, you have to think about it like, okay, top 4, top 6, those are just labels. Those are tossed around with teams regularly. But for Vancouver, if you have a team that you can roll your 4th and 6th defensemen equally, then it doesn't really matter what the labels are, right? Hughes and Hronek get the most minutes, of course, but then everybody else gets equal ice time. We had seen that in the playoffs and it was effective. It worked with Zadorov, Cole, Soucy, Myers. So if the Vancouver Canucks decided to go the big Z route this time around, do you think they would have been a lot better for it? Let's say it's no Heinen and no Desharnais, instead they get Zadorov back. How do you think the team fares instead? It certainly is an idea that I thought was worth exploring in this video because I've been very overly praising of PATRIK ALLVIN'S the past few months here. I think he's been very good with a lot of the moves that he has made, a lot of the acquisitions. You know, I'm not going to say I regret seeing the Canucks sign Danton Heinen, for example. They got some good players. But is this a mistake? On behalf of PATRIK ALLVIN'S and the Vancouver Canucks, I want you to let me know your thoughts in the comment section, why or why not. The article that we read, which is a very good piece, by the way, it's going to be linked in the description, so you can go ahead and read that, link it yourself, and give Daily Hive their ad views. But for now, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about the idea of Nikita Zadorov, the Boston Bruins, how he's been playing so far, not even to talk about the points. We didn't talk about the 3 points in 5 games. We just talked about everything else, but still, there's been a lot of meat on the bone here for Big Z. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this Super Chat 99, and bye.